So welcome to the inside of Object 268. I'm sitting more or less where the commander would be. The seat has been dismounted, but he would be in a position obviously under his hatch, so that's probably a reasonable estimate. Directly to his front would be the eyepiece for the TKD rangefinder. He also has a number of mounts for visibility outside of that, and of course the cupola will rotate. To his right is the back end of the ammunition carousel. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Directly underneath me is a projectile rack. There's another one a little bit forward and left. Behind me on the wall would be where you'd find a radio and a couple of other odds and ends that would be required. Unfortunately, the vehicle is somewhat stripped, so anything else is pretty much pure guesstimation. Looks like a dome light to its front. Internal electronics, I'm not sure if that's for him or the gunner, truth be told. And underneath me is, it looks like stowage for 1, 2, 3, probably 6 rounds of ammunition, projectiles from the shape of the ledges. The other thing I can see from up here, and it's actually way down on the floor, is the torsion bars. Now these are, ordinarily you would expect them to go from one side of the vehicle to the other, but this particular vehicle and some of the other Soviet heavies, they actually had, well, they call them half length. In actuality, they don't even come to halfway mark in the vehicle. Apparently the problem with them was that they gave rather uneven effect between the wheels. But it is still, for somebody who is used to full width torsion bars, or maybe even, as you saw in Panther, double width torsion bars, the fact that they were able to get a good suspension system to work with bars that seem to be maybe a meter long is actually kind of impressive. The gunner is reasonably comfortable, although the seat is a little bit small and a little too close to the gun. Controls are very simple. He has hand cranks only. Now traverse is 6 degrees left and right. It's done on a toothed arc, and as you can see, the gunner's seat is attached to the gun and he moves with it. That keeps sight alignment very simple. Elevation, -5 to +15. The gun is very well balanced, it has to be said. To aim it to his front, he's going to have a direct vision optic. It's a TSH-2A. And for the indirect fire roll, that was about 13 kilometers or so, you would mount into the housing here the ZIS-3 panoramic sight. That would extend up through the gunner's hatch, and actually brings to mind the question, was the gunner's hatch for the optics or was it for the crewman? Because getting in and out of this, you have to, of course, you got this big sight housing and controls in the way directly underneath it. There is also, it looks like, an attachment point for another of the ubiquitous periscopes, rotatable and adjustable in elevation. However, it is blanked off on this vehicle, so I'm purely speculating. The gun itself was capable of firing APHE rounds. The AP round was about 49 kilograms, the HE 43.5, and the AP round would go at about 750 meters a second. It would fire both legacy ammunition from the older ML-20 howitzer as well as later more modern stuff, and can fire either the bagged charges or the metal case propellant charges. Either or, it worked both ways. So a fairly neat feature that you can't complain about the gun at all on this. There is no coaxial. There were some studies put in as to whether or not they wanted to put a coaxial, but it's room that they didn't really want to give it, and frankly, for its role as an assault gun, basically leveling fortifications and other buildings, particularly that were in its way, it really wasn't appropriate anyway, so no loss, no coaxial. If you have to machine gun somebody, sure, you got a 14.5 on the roof anyway. That's it for in here. Over to the loader side. Loader seat seems fairly well laid out. I'm sitting on his seat, which I would assume is only used for road marches. You can get off it, and for combat operations, it'll actually fold down out of the way. Yeah, simple as. And to his front, he's got, looks like propellant charges, but the neat feature is the ammunition rack to his rear. As you can see, it's on a sort of a chain conveyor system. So he just grabs the round, places it on the rammer here, gets rammed forward, comes back, grabs the charge, places it on the rammer, rams forward, back, carousel spins one more notch, and after firing, he's ready to do it again. He doesn't have to go around grabbing this massive 50 kilo almost projectile and manhandling it around inside this crew compartment. Very nice little feature. Breech operating handle, of course, here for the sideways sliding breech. I'd move around a bit more. Here's a control box for the ramming system. Under the little latch are the buttons for reverse and forward, and there is another one actually placed to rammer into operation. If you look up at the roof, there's quite a sturdy travel lock, which will swing down, and then you just put the cotter pin in here. As you look further around, more stowage for ammunition and propellant. He has an optic, a single periscope fixed off to the right hand side, and to his front would be another of the drop down rotatable periscopes as well. He also has a dome light to the front. All in all, this one definitely gets good grades. Last place, of course, is the driver. It is possible to sneak in through the crew compartment, but I thought it'd be more amusing to see if I can climb in from the outside. Of course, the first problem was the pike nose is a great way of falling off, but there's a nice gun up here, so I'll see if I can get up another way. So far, so good. Of course, the problem was with the gun in the way. A little bit limited. Okay, my left foot is in position, my right foot is kind of stuck. All in all, actually, that wasn't too bad. So I'm in position, I have my controls. Well, if it wasn't for the fact that this is in the back of my neck, it's not bad. The seat on this particular vehicle does actually go up and down. So I'm gonna lower it and then we'll have a look inside. So as I've come down into the driver's compartment, immediately, this isn't bad. Not least, again, this is a functioning vehicle, so I'm able to close the hatch. That's done. You release the latch, lift all the way up to raise the hatch to clear, pivot round, locks into place, and straight down. And it locks back into place. You're now secure. Vision to the front is by the single large periscope. It's not fantastic, but it'll do. There are also additionally two smaller fixed periscopes to the side. Just to give you a little bit extra visibility. Not fantastic, not bad. The controls, similar to some of the other vehicles we've seen at this point. Clutch pedal on the left. I have to say this is a very light clutch, so that makes a nice change compared to some tanks. Accelerator on the right with the hand throttle as well. Driving position, passable. You can see, of course, that the parking brake can still be placed by use of the plungers. Steering is powered, so it's easy to steer. You have an 8-speed gearbox, and we have a reverse selector here. Speedometer on the right has all at 23 kilometers on the clock. I'm not sure if it's accurate or not, but I thought it would do more than that in testing. Further forward, you have the air valves for the reserve air starting system as you come further right. One of the fuel tanks, the one on the front right, is 90 liters. There is more ammunition stowed to my right. Behind me is a large escape hatch. Now, that's one of the advantages of not having the full width torsion bars, is that you can leave room for people to get in and out the bottom. Directly above me is the pivot point for the main gun. So this is basically a large L-shaped piece of metal. The end of the L is more or less where the traverse control intersects, and it's basically cut into teeth. So you turn the handle on the traverse, the cogs mesh with the teeth on the end of this L, and that will move your gun left and right. To my left is going to be the battery rack, and just forward of that are 3 fire extinguisher bottles. The instrument panel to the front, nice and new again, operating vehicle. So we have your ammeter gauge, water temperature, rev counter, oil temperature, oil pressure, oil pump, starter button. Fairly simple, easily laid out. As you're looking forward, a neat little feature that was demonstrated to me was for lack of a better term, was a rotating brush to keep the windshield clear of mud or snow or whatever else came onto it. Ammunition to my right, ammunition to my left. Never a wasted space around here. So all in all, driving position is fairly comfortable. This one definitely gets a passing grade. The fact that Objekt 268 did not enter service cannot be blamed upon either the designer or the vehicle. If you wanted an armoured vehicle that's going to go around lobbing 6 inches of high explosive love at people, you weren't really going to get much better. Unsurprisingly, the vehicle did pass its service tests. It was, however, somewhat overtaken by events. After a little bit of critical thought, they decided that it was probably better to have a whole fleet of T10s as opposed to some 268s and some T10s. A turreted vehicle was probably going to be far better overall than having all the resources put into an assault gun with limited traverse. As a result, no more vehicles were built, and the one remaining prototype sits here in Kubinka today. That was it. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you as ever on the next one.